it been in writing that they could have the walkthrough, then we would have let them have the walkthrough. So get your contracts in writing, specific with how you want things to go throughout the transaction, so you can point to the contract and have legal justification in order to do whatever it is that you're fighting for your client for.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and joining us on this episode, we have the pleasure of picking the brain of Ryan Kelley. How you doing, Ryan?
Kevin, it's good to be here with you. I'm doing fantastic. Beautiful morning here in West Michigan. How you doing?
Man, no complaints, no complaints. I'm feeling the same. The energy is great. The vibe is excellent. Man, let's get into it. I like to start our episodes off with an icebreaker, quick game. For you, I have this or that, all related to real estate, of course. Just a couple words, and I just want you to choose which one based off your own experience or your own, merits or whatever the case may be. And you can tell us why you chose it too if you want to. You ready?
Sounds fun. Let's get into it. Yep.
All right, let's do this. First one. Ability to work independently or teamwork skills?
Oh, boy. Wow. You need a 50-50 on that. But if I had to pick one, I would say ability to work independently, because that can prepare you with all the different things that you need in order to work with your team. If you come to your team when you're not prepared, what good is it if you're not prepared ahead of time? So you have to be able to by yourself, get things ready to go.
Well said. Closing skills or follow-up skills?
Follow-up skills. You don't close if you don't follow up.
Look at you. Okay. I see what you're doing.
Have fun with it, right? That's what we're doing here today, right?
Appraised value or assessed value?
Appraised value. That's going to go ahead and, man, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with appraised value. That's going to reflect a little bit more of market value. Assessed values kind of seem to be thrown off quite a bit. Where is it double? Is it double and a half? And kind of things lag to catch up a little bit on that, as where appraised value is a little more real time to the market.
Interesting. Got another one. Mortgage or cash?
Mortgage. You want to leverage in order to be able to use your cash to make more money in the long run.
There you go.
Good debt, though. That's the difference, right? I mean,
Yep.
there's a difference between good debt and bad debt. And you don't want to just mortgage like the biggest house that you can. Interest-only payments. That's how the 2009 subprime lending got the whole market and economy to crash the way that it did. But if you use lending properly, that's definitely the way to go. You get better cash-on-cash returns, and you can make your money stretch further.
Yeah. I love that one because that's all about perspective, depending on who you are. I mean, I'm sure a seller might say, come with that cash, but, from a buyer's perspective and investment perspective, you definitely want to use that leverage. I love that perspective, man. Last one, starter home or forever home?
Depends on where you're at in your life, I guess, right? Everybody's got to start with a starter home. Some people, I have helped clients buy their starter home to be their forever home. But for me, I would say always have that forever home in mind, because it gives you something to work towards.
I love that. Ryan, man, thank you. That's a nice way to start off our icebreaker, this or that right there. And now I'd like you to tell us who you are outside of real estate in 60 seconds. Separate the person from the profession.
My wife and I, we have 6 kids. We have 2 dogs. We have a little Chihuahua and a Belgian Malinois. So it's about as opposite end of the spectrum size-wise you can get. We have a little joke sometimes, big dog, little dog, right? We live on a great property. You can kind of see behind me right here. I got some trees. We live in the woods for the most part. We got 25 chickens. We got some ducks. We got our little hobby farm with all the different, bushes and trees that have berries and fruit on them and stuff like that. I enjoy doing all of those things just around the house, cutting down trees, getting firewood ready. It's a great way to just kind of take in the world and, be able to raise a family in a really great
Yep.
way.
Yep, yep. Oh man, I love that, man. That sounds so peaceful right there, man.
It's
That
good.
sounds so peaceful, man. I gotta honor and respect that right there. Okay, let's talk about work now. Let's get into the business. Starting off with where you're serving. So let's talk about geographically where you are. Paint that picture for our audience who may have never been to your area. Then let's get into the economics and real estate and how it's looking in that same area.
I'm from Michigan. I live in West Michigan. The
Mm-hmm.
West Side is the best side. It's a big state, but we have an amazing spot over here in West Michigan.
Yep,
Golden
yep.
beaches. It's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful area. It really is. And I work in the whole state, so I'm sure many people watching this understand that when you become licensed in a state, you're able to conduct business in the entire state. And
Mm-hmm.
I work in commercial real estate. And I do some residential, and I've historically done more residential than commercial throughout my career. But over the last couple of years, it's been focused on commercial real estate throughout the entire state of Michigan. And so,
Okay.
from a residential perspective, here in the state of Michigan, the market is still strong. It's still a seller's market. Things are still moving quickly. From the commercial real estate side of things, it's still a great area to invest in. Commercial real estate's a different kind of transaction in the whole scheme of
Mm-hmm.
things. It takes longer to get through a due diligence period. Your pool of buyers is not quite like it is with houses because everybody needs a place to live, but not everybody buys investment properties. But it's still a strong market with interest rates rising, cap rates, which is like a valuation indicator of the purchase price of the property. We've seen cap rates remain stable, and we've seen the market still remain strong for the most part. And in commercial
Mm-hmm.
real estate, you just have to make the numbers work in order to put a deal together.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, so you get to see two different ends of the spectrum, the whole business part and the investment part, and then the residential part of people just finding their home. So and then real estate in general just has so much of an effect on the economy, the local economy. So for you to kind of work both ends, like you personally really have a big effect on your local economy, man. So I got to tip my hat off to you for getting the job done. I
My
like
firm
to.
does both residential and commercial, so yeah, we're definitely in both sides of the
Mm-hmm.
industry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like to uh I like to really get into the mindset and the process of the realtor and the things that you have to do. So if you can walk us through the process of your day of, let's say, one of your most recent work days, from maybe you getting up to the first thing you do is emails or phone calls. Take us all the way through the end, please. I'm interested.
Yeah. In real estate, every day can be different
Mm-hmm.
throughout the
Mm-hmm.
day. It's not really like a set schedule in regard to, these are the things I have to do. Stuff comes up, but there's in the beginning of the day always the same pattern in order to prepare. So the alarm goes off at 6 o'clock. I get out of bed and I will focus on myself. I don't even look at my phone. I won't even look at
Mm,
my phone. I won't look at a text message. I won't look at an email. I definitely am not checking social media.
man.
Um, that's the biggest time waster there. If
Dude.
you allow yourself to get sucked into that stuff right away.
Man.
So it's I go and I get some water. I always start the day with water.
Okay.
You gotta start the day right, and so you add some water to the body, and then I normally go and work out. I don't get big into working out in regard to like spending hours and hours, training
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. But every morning, it's I jump on the pull up bar. I do certain stretches. I do pull ups. I get my mind geared towards the physical body moving.
All right.
Um, and then after that, usually I'll dive in and eat some sort of breakfast. Whether it's tacos, whether you cook up some ham and some eggs or something like that. Drink some coffee. And then to start off with the workday side of things, you have to know where you're going to go. So I usually have little index cards, right? You got your little index cards here, and
There
I'll
it
write
is.
down the things that I have to do. That way I can actually physically cross off those things, whether it's follow
Mm-hmm.
up with emails, whether it's make phone call. It's both of those things
Mm-hmm.
in that pretty much everyday instance in real estate. And then you'll just go through the things that you have to do for that day. Some days I'm writing offers, some days I'm taking offers in for the sellers or landlords that I work for, and you have to negotiate things back and forth. You have to take in
Yeah.
a full spectrum of where this deal is going to lead, how to communicate that to your clients, and be able to put all of those things together. And again, back to the beginning of the conversation, you have to kind of copy and paste and insert things in certain places because stuff happens in real estate.
Man.
And so you have to be able to be flexible. But starting off that morning, getting your mind right is the most important part.
Yeah, not even stuff just happening in real estate, but in life. I mean, I
For
had this
sure.
conversation with a guest not too long ago, and we were talking about time management and how important it is. But then I think they mentioned something about having time for just miscellaneous things that are going to come up throughout the day and that you are going to have to deal with either in life or business. But leaving that small gap. And at first it sounded a little crazy. Like it seems like it could lead down a path of like just sitting there. But I mean, if you find yourself with that time, then maybe you scratch off an extracurricular or something that you've been holding off for a while. But nonetheless, you still stick to that copy and paste template and you pretty much work around that. And creating those
You
systems
know,
is how you become efficient.
definitely the systems. And,
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, sometimes, well, not sometimes, every day, I do pencil in time to do nothing.
Yeah, yeah, that part. That
You
part.
have to recalibrate. Sometimes we think like, oh, the hustle, you got to go get it. You're always
Yeah.
moving, you're always making things happen. And, that can lead to burnout. That can lead to,
Mm-hmm.
errors because you're going
Mm-hmm.
too much.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Carving out that time to do nothing is just as important because you get to recalibrate. You get to take a breath of air. You can come back in fresh again with whatever it is that you have to do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Indeed. Indeed. So, as a real estate agent with such extensive experience in various types of properties, could you share a memorable story of a client who had a unique vision for their dream property? And how did you help them turn their vision into reality?
Yeah, there's probably several stories that I could share there. I've had some pretty cool clients that have had some great ideas. And, you talk about, dream homes or starter homes. I've seen people turn starter homes into their dream homes. But I had a
Mm-hmm.
client that wanted to get into real estate investing, and they kind of bought, or it was a duplex, it was a 2 unit property that was in pretty bad shape. Um, but they had an idea of what they wanted to do with that property, and they turned it into a fantastic investment for themselves. The rents substantially increased. They lived in one side of it for a while there, and then rented out both sides. And so I was there to be able to um, kind of talk them through the process of like, oh my gosh, this is kind of scary for me. I've never done anything like this before,
Right, right.
and be able to give them some courage, I guess you could say, to know that on the other side, if you do the right things, you're going to end up with kind of like your pot of gold, if you will, right? Because that's what they wanted to do, but they had never gone down that path before. So I watched them turn in a property that was in probably, not the greatest shape, we'll say, into a really fantastic investment for them. And then how they're ready to do it again and again and again and keep on going down that path. So
Yeah,
it was cool to be
yeah.
able to be there and talk them through all those things. Because in real estate, we're here to help people sell and buy real estate. But in all reality, you have to mentally help them through the process as well, because it can be intimidating and scary, especially when somebody's buying real estate for the first time.
Mm-hmm. As we discuss on the closing table very often and frequently, you will have to wear many hats, including being a therapist, a
Yes, man.
friend,
Yeah,
a confidant, all in one. So I get
that
it.
is
I
it.
get it.
You're right, Kevin. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you have a situation that you were involved in where you had to deal with another agent on the opposite side of the closing table and y'all had disagreements that got very, very intense throughout the transaction, but somehow you all managed to actually iron that out by closing? You have any examples of that?
Um, yeah, I can think of a few different instances where there's been kind of some heated conversations, if you will.
Yeah.
So when we talk about representing our clients, right, there's seller agency and there's buyer agency, and you have
Mm-hmm.
a fiduciary responsibility to represent your client in a honest way, obviously, right? I mean, it's not there to manipulate the transaction or lie to people, but you have a duty to fight on behalf of the client that you're working for. And there's instances where, part of a transaction doesn't come together the way that it's supposed to, and so people will they'll have those altercations. And I've had issues with possession before, where somebody was going to get possession 15 days after close, and um, the people weren't out of the house. So my people
Mm-mm.
are homeless now because they're ready to go, and these people aren't out of the house. And so you kind of have to navigate these things. And I always try to, you know, keep a cool and calm head and try to be reasonable about the situation, and state very matter of factly the position of where we're at, and try to be solution oriented. Because you know I mean, what does it say about how you conduct business if you just pick up the phone and you start yelling and screaming and all this stuff that you're going to do? And, when in all reality, you just kind of took the 30,000-foot view in and say, hey, here's our solutions. What are we going to do? Because this is a problem and we have to address it right now. So there's
Mm-hmm.
an ability to communicate those things without being a jerk, basically.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, I know that there's egos involved with agents, especially it can be experienced agents, or even inexperienced agents. There could be situations where you're dealing with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, or someone who feels like they know everything. Regardless, you have to deal with these opposing personalities for someone who is representing someone else and speaking for someone else. So I can understand the communication getting very blurry, very muddy, and paths getting just crossed and looking very, very nasty. But ultimately, like you said, that's one of your jobs too. Not only be the therapist for your client, but you got to be that mediator just in your own situation with another agent on the other side of the table. So I imagine it would
You
happen more
got
often than not, but
Here's an important
nonetheless.
part for this too, Kevin, is that
Mm-hmm.
especially with and even some experienced agents, this could be like this as well, but with newer agents, making sure that you get things in writing how you want
Oh
them.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
Because
yeah.
if you don't have it in writing, I've had people call
Mm-hmm.
me and try to fight for something for their client. Like, here's a perfect example. These people wanted to have a walkthrough, right? They were supposed to have, we want to take a walkthrough before close to make sure everything's good. And while my client, we didn't have anything to hide, there wasn't anything that had changed.
Right.
We didn't have to give them that walkthrough, and my client didn't. And so we denied them. We said, I'm sorry, it's in writing. It says, here's the contract, and you don't have the contractual right to a walkthrough prior to close. Now, they were upset about that, but we had it in writing. Had it been in writing that they could have the walkthrough, then we would have let them have the walkthrough. So get your contracts in writing, specific with how you want things to go throughout the transaction, so you can point to the contract and have legal justification in order to do whatever it is that you're fighting for your client for.
Hey man, that is a fact. That is so funny because it could have been nice. Like, it's fine. They say, what? We going with the paper. This is what the paperwork says. It's gonna be a no from us, dog.
And that's just, they were busy with all this other stuff. They were getting ready to move out of their house, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and you never know, like, you're right. Sometimes people say, yeah, sure, go ahead. Other times
Mm-hmm.
it's a no. So have it in writing up front, and you'll be good to go.
Oh man, that is crazy. I get it. I get it. Everybody's situation is different. But being engaged in the community and inspiring others is commendable. I know that's some things that you've done yourself, but can you tell us about a time where you and your family made a positive impact in your community through a real estate transaction? And then can you talk about the outcome of the transaction, just going beyond the sale?
Yeah, I think through our church, we've done a lot. I've helped people through our church, purchase real estate, different types of properties, and we do things that give back to the community in that aspect. There
Mm-hmm.
was a company that I worked for previously, and I had helped that company franchise the company And we did a community event during the summer where there was a huge get together for the community, and we'd raise money for different causes, whether it's kids food basket, that kind of stuff or whatnot. Um, but with real estate transactions, I always like to tithe. So I like to look at each real estate transaction as an opportunity to, whether it's making a contribution to the church, making a contribution to a local charity, putting money back into the community to a trusted charity that I know
Mm-hmm.
is going to use money for causes that matter in our community.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, man. As a real estate agent, you are the community builder. You are the one who literally welcomes people into certain neighborhoods. And that
Yeah.
neighborhood, if that's their forever home, they raise their kids there, and maybe their kids, and you're the reason why they're there. So, contributing on not only getting people in their homes, but giving them a good community, a good area where they can come and just be social and meet everybody in that community. Man, that's great work right there, man. That's great work right there. So, in your opinion, what's the most challenging aspect of the real estate industry? Let's talk about that.
The most challenging aspect is the
And
courage to do it. Go ahead.
okay, no, please, I want you to finish that. I want,
It's easy to read a book.
mm-hmm.
It's easy to listen to a podcast, if you will. It's easy to listen to an audible book, and you can hear all these amazing things about this and that, and what you can do and how it can be achieved. But this right here, the
Yeah,
man in the arena, the quote from Theodore Roosevelt, that's what it's all about. It's about taking action. I think the most challenging part is getting over the fears to do it
yeah,
and being able to, whether it's make the phone calls, go meet with the people, show up at the listing appointments, get up early, hone your skills. It's the action component that I think is the most challenging part, because we're all capable of learning stuff. We all came into this world knowing what, Kevin? Nothing, right? We
yeah,
knew our bodies knew how to
yeah. I didn't
breathe.
know.
That's
Yeah.
about it, right? We knew how to breathe. We knew that we were
Mm-hmm.
hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I need food. I need food. But you don't know anything.
That's a
And so
fact.
that lets you know that as humans, right, we're all the same in the aspect of we take information in and we process it and we determine how we want to use that information. And it's like that in real estate as well. If you want to learn something, if you want to know something, you take in that information and then you go do it, right? You can read books all day on walking as a kid, and if you never stand up and walk, you're never going to walk. So
Mm.
finding the courage to do it, going out into the world and taking some swings, the opportunity to fail, the opportunity to succeed, learning from those things, and never ever giving up. You can fall, you stand. You fall, you stand. You make a mistake, you make a correction. People want to stay in their comfort zones.
Oh
They don't
yeah.
want to actually do it. All of it's learnable skills, man, and it's easy stuff.
You know what? That was very inspiring. I'm glad you brought that up. So, with that being said, do you have any example stories that kind of shows how you went through that, or can you share what really motivated that light switch to go off for you to realize everything you just said about the importance of taking action?
We're going to go way back. All
Come
right.
on.
When I graduated from high school, I went to college for electrical engineering, and I
Mm-hmm.
spent some time in college for that. When I left college, I went to work for the telecommunications company, which is now AT&T. And I
Okay.
worked outside on the lines, and I would get up every day and I'd go and on somebody else's schedule, they'd tell me where I had to be, when I had to be there, how long I had to be there for. Um, and that was good for me at that time. And there's nothing wrong with having a job. It paid extremely well. I made great friends. I traveled a lot of places and I learned a lot of things about life. But eventually I started to look beyond that. And what possibilities could be in life if I were to course correct and change the direction I was going. And so I got introduced with real estate. I was actually in LAX airport out in Los Angeles, and I came across the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. Remember that, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
Robert Kiyosaki, and I'm like, wow, this is great information. And then I started being that connoisseur, like I was talking about a minute ago. You can read all the books and all that stuff. I read them all, Kevin. I
Mm-hmm.
listened to all the podcasts. I would spend hours and hours and hours listening to the stuff with the little earbuds in and all that stuff. And eventually I decided to take action. And so I went out and I bought some apartment buildings and some different residential, commercial real estate properties to own myself. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to be courageous, quit my job, and I am going to, if you will, you kind of
Mm.
you burn the bridge, right? You come to a new land and you burn the ships and you say, we're not going back, we're going this direction. And that's exactly what I did. And I just said this is a big courageous move, and it's either going to work or I'm going to fail, and I'll figure out and then do it again and make it work the next time. And actually, it worked, and I just kept working
Man.
harder and building my network and one courageous thing after another, because we're only here for a short period of time, number one. And number two, try to add as much value as you can to other people in different aspects
Mm-hmm.
all around you. And
Mm-hmm.
you kind of all ships rise when the waters rise type thing.
Man, talk about it. Talk about it, man. I love to hear that story. I love to hear that. I don't mind you going back to the root and explaining that too, because
Comes from,
that's
yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard a story where someone has taken a leap of faith and put the work in and it didn't work out. Like maybe it didn't land them exactly where they wanted to at that time. Maybe they
right.
got there a little bit later, or maybe it took them on a redirection where it was where they were supposed to go. But nonetheless, when they take that leap of faith and you put in that work and you have that faith, I mean, I got to really stress faith in the work. Like it works
That's
out,
got to
man.
go
I love
together,
to hear
right?
that. Come on, man. Yeah, you
Yep,
talking today, man. I love it. I
that's
love
it.
it, Ryan. So as the principal broker and owner of Newcon Realty, you've built a reputation as a trusted real estate advisor. Could you share a story of a client who faced a complex real estate challenge, uh, and how you help navigate through that process for success?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a developer that I was working with. This was several years ago, and building a real residential development. And I think we had, I can't remember exactly, maybe like 140 different lots and houses we were building out there. And
Mm-hmm.
so we started down this path together, and I was listing the entire development, and we were selling lots, we were selling houses, building houses, custom houses, spec houses. Um, and there was actually some, we're just going to call it friction, back to that part of the conversation there with, people on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
This was more internal friction than the other side of the table, though, but still kind of a similar thing. And so the developer, they kind of wanted to get out of the deal. We had all these contracts signed, and they kind of wanted to get out because they didn't want the drama and all this other stuff. And so I took a step back, and that 30,000 foot view. Okay, where are we at? How do we get out of this? And I ended up, for the developer, putting together a transaction with another company to sell off the entire project, and actually
Mm.
netted them it was a little bit less than what they could have made if they would have built the whole thing out themselves. But because if you do, you put in the work to build the houses and all that stuff, you get there's different cuts on different parts of the project, the land, the buildings, the different partners you're working with and stuff. So it wasn't as profitable if he built it his own all himself, but he ended up getting all of his money back and making a really great profit off of it. And I made it so that everybody got the cuts that they were intended for, and
Mm-hmm.
really brought a solution that at the end of the day, everybody said, well, hey, we had these disagreements, but it looks like it turned out well in the end anyway.
Look at you. Yeah. See, that's one of those things about being solution oriented, not just
Big
being
time.
focused on the problem and oh this happened. Well, we know that this happened. Let's focus on the solution at this point. And the fact that you
Yep.
had to take that macro look. You had to step back. Like you say, what you say, 30,000 feet?
30,000
looking
foot
back,
view. You can see
yeah, I
afar
love it.
from up at 30,000 feet,
I
you know?
love it, man. Yeah, get a different perspective. See everything and how it's working and how you can actually come up with some creative solutions. That's a great
That's right.
testament to that right there. So if you're looking back on your career now, Ryan, you tell us what key lessons you learned about yourself, the industry, and the importance of serving others.
Going back to the story about the roots, first of all, that's one of the main takeaways right there is just the courage to do it. The
Mm-hmm.
courage to, when I purchased all those properties myself. I didn't know what I was doing, but you find a mentor. You find people that have done it. You have the books or the audios that you can go to, and then put those things in action. And so that's a huge component of it there. Everything else is learnable, and you can think as big as you want with real estate. We think, oh, there's a lot of realtors out there. Oh, the property's already been sold. Properties are selling every single day for
Mm-hmm.
various reasons in every corner of every city, of every state in the entire country and world. There's so much real estate that happens. Sadly, when someone passes away, there's real estate that needs to be sold, things that need to be taken care of. The commercial real estate deals, very, very, very rarely does someone buy a piece of property in the commercial side because they just love that property, right? It's going to be for sale at some point if they can make some money off of it, right? It's an
Yeah.
investment. You got 1031 exchanges, so you can
Mm-hmm.
shift that money somewhere else. And, there's always real estate deals happening. You just have to get in the arena. You have to get in the game, start, talking to people, coming up with that plan, being involved in the community, and the real estate deals will happen and your success will follow.
There it is. There it is. Well said, well played. We appreciate you, Ryan, pulling up a chair here to the closing table and sharing your knowledge with me and our audience. At this point, if you have any last words and or want to tell the people how to reach out to you, please do so now.
Website's nuconrealty.com, NUCON realty.com. You can get in touch if you want. We're happy to share anything that we talked about today or, questions or thoughts that you have. And then not much else to share other than, look up this quote right here, Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. And really, what does that mean to you, right? How does that interpret into your life? Don't compare your journey to someone else's journey. Compare your journey to your journey, right? 6 a.m. again tomorrow morning. You have the opportunity to wake up and, make your day better than it was yesterday, to be smarter than you were. So figure out where you want to go, have the courage to do it, and just don't stop, and you'll be surprised what can happen.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Thank you again, Ryan, for those words. We appreciate it so much. And for our YouTube audience, if you've gotten to this point in the video, please do us both a favor. Hit that like button. We appreciate it. Make sure you also subscribe and share the content. Also, do us that favor. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. And Ryan, I always like to leave our audience with a question before they leave the chat. So this is for you, audience. Have you encountered a situation that made you reconsider your career as a realtor? If so, what helped you manage it and maintain your success? Let's talk about it. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.